Cool. Better, Mike? Okay. Can we get some feedback on just Mike's message, some takeaways on the PR program, or next level? I'd love to hear the, I have already, tried to execute this, and this is what you want to get into your notes as you approach the start. Mr. Palacio, we'll start with you, please.
I specifically had a really tough time building that triple threat culture. I had a call with Josie where I told her specifically that something that you want to build and just become a habit in your office is going to make it a lot easier to recruit on a consistent basis, especially if your PR name collection and training is low. Just another way to keep funneling names into your PR abilities.
I lost that last part. I apologize. That last part in here.
That's okay.
Right after feeding names.
Yeah. So if you're struggling at collecting PR names during training, this is just another avenue to funnel for your ability to hit your fire number on a weekly basis, because they're just easy scoop ups.
Okay. I want to echo this point. There's a number of how many PRs you should be setting. I want to say this every prep. What's that? No, that's right.
We haven't learned that yet.
No, you're right. There's a number. It's called fire number. Fire number is our fancy term for you setting your own PRs. You'll have a receptionist or two that will set PRs. You might have staff, but you will set PRs yourself on a weekly basis. This doesn't include who you send to the system for texting. I mean the list of people you keep and you will call. So if I'm first years, I'll put you on the spot. What should you be thinking about in regards to the names that you keep? Right? So in other words, let's say I collect 1,000 names from the training group that gets submitted. How many of those 1,000 should I probably keep for myself? This is kind of going, this is a little advanced, but how many should I keep for myself? And who should I be thinking about keeping for myself versus sending to the program to get texted? So first years, I want you to start using some logical thinking here for a second. Smart business people, Rob.
Tallahassee, at least anybody that started, we want to call those not something to compare.
Meaning what? What does star represent?
That they're in the area.
Okay, so for you guys, it's local, right? But in general, right? So let's say, Julia, let's say Andrew says, yep, I need to let you run the office for 3 weeks. And you've got 1,000 names you collect in the training. How would you determine the number of people you're going to keep for you to call and how many to send to conveyor? Just in general. That doesn't have to be perfect, but what would you, in general, think about?
Well, I would for sure want to keep all of the stars, like everyone's top candidates for sure.
Everyone?
Mostly the best people's, like going out of training.
Okay, so the first things I would think about which reps would I really want to replicate the most? Okay, so reps that have seen success, reps in specific networks, reps that can get you into specific networks, reps that go to the schools that you want to be in. How about ratio-wise? We'll go to the branches or assistants. What do you want to think about when you think about number of names you keep versus what you send?
I would keep probably out of that 1,000, I would keep 100.
And what determines that whatever number you say, what's determining that number?
The amount of
yes, just finish. It's more logic than you think.
What?
It's more logical than I just want you to.
The amount of people that submit names. How many PRs?
But like if I have 1,000 names, you might be overthinking this. If I have 1,000 names, okay, well, yes. Before I send the button and send all 1,000 to conveyor, and I don't have any to call, I keep 500 and send 5. I keep 900 of the names and I send 100 to conveyor. Eric?
Realistically, well, I mean, if you're a first year branch and you have no staff, say 250 to 300, whatever you think you can pump out.
That's it. So whatever what?
Whatever you think you can pump out.
Whatever you can get to.
Oh.
And there's a ratio we'll cover of if I get 500 names, how many of those 500 could I fuel to make my 20 set for the week? Like there's a certain amount that you have to set for it to work out. And NLG, what's the answer to that question? Every week, how many should you be setting up minimum?
25 to 30.
25 to 30, but like come hell or high water is 20. 25, 30 in our division, yes. But like if you mess up, you've got to set 20 PRs on your own. So how many names do you need to set that? It's like saying this. I want to do 10 demos for the push. How many names do I need in my attack list to mathematically hit those 10 demos? That's how many you keep. Got that so far?
Yep.
Okay, good. Other takeaways from the PR or next level thought? This is good. Dalila.
I liked what we had about printing out highlighting who has set and then having them star whoever you haven't contacted.
Yeah. One of the things we do in the pilot, and if you're from the pilot, you know this. For advanced training, Before Jeff starts, what should be on my desk in regards to PR before I start training?
People said
A list of people who are set for interviews. I don't want the whole rep info list. I don't want Samantha Planner's entire list, who's highlighted, who's starred, who's set, who's not. I want a list just for me of who's set. And I want this to be this big list. I'll say, guys, there were 50 of your friends set up last night from texting them. Well, yeah, check this out. Samantha, you've got 7. Read the names. Rob, you were Mr. Popular. You got 15. And here I read the names. Dalila, only 2, but here are the 2. And then maybe we didn't get a hold of everyone. So I'm building it up. And then I'll say, oh, by the way, for those of you that have friends that you know we can get in, but they didn't respond last night or they didn't respond back to the text, don't worry. At the end of training today, we're going to have a completely different session where we call them directly from your phone because we're more likely to pick up. So how many of you know people that don't pick up numbers they don't know? Yeah, that's probably why they didn't respond. But if we call from your phone, what's going to happen? Yeah, they're more likely to pick up. We'll do that later in training. You see that? So you're setting the tone for rep driven. Okay. So real quick, if you could pull out your notes, and I'd like you to go to a clean sheet or go into the agenda under money. We're gonna go no break. How about this? We're gonna skip the break. We're gonna go last 2 topics so we can get out earlier. That work? I'd prefer that. Okay. You guys are ready to roll? We don't need any more breaks.
no breaks.
So money. So I would pull out the agenda. Okay. And here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to think about and think with senses, right? When you think of senses, what are the things that come to mind? The senses you have. What are your senses?
Like eyes,
Yeah. So what do you see?
touch,
No.
touch.
Yeah. What did you feel?
It's Canadian, you can smell it.
Right. What did you smell? We'll eliminate smell for money, but unless you're smelling money. See, feel, and hear. Right? What did you see, feel, and hear? Okay. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go, brand new sheet, journal if you have one. I want you to write at the top, money. At the top, money. I want to take you through an exercise. This is really cool. I did this at the DVM meeting. I've done this with the districts. And then, as you know, Heidi and I went to Chicago to meet with our financial planner. At least next level was this. And Adam, Heidi and I went through this exercise. It was really awesome to see what we all experienced with money growing up. What did you see? What did you feel? What did you hear? Money. So think probably before high school, like middle school, elementary schoolish. So go back, try to be mindful of what that was like. So like kind of sit quiet for a second. You don't have to close your eyes. Think about elementary to middle school. Think about in your household. Okay. What were some of the things you saw happening as it pertained to money in your household? What were some of the things you felt when it pertained to money? And what were some of the things you heard? Commentary, things that you heard often when it came to money. So jot a few notes down, and you don't have to share if you don't want, but those of you that are willing to would be great. So what did you hear about money? What did you see when it came to money? What did you feel when it came to money? What did you see? What did you feel? What did you hear when it came to money? And I'll continue to talk out loud and as you do this. What were some things mom and dad would say repetitively when it came to money? Jot that down. Yeah. Sure. Ready? Just what are some phrases you heard often as it pertained to money? What were some feelings, either maybe some unspoken things in the house, but were understood in the house when it came to money? We don't talk about money. Save because you never know with money. Or opposite. YOLO, or an adult version of, hey, enjoy now because you never know what happens later with money. It's disrespectful to talk about money. My mentor, John, said growing up, the 2 kids were in the back, and he said something about a conversation he heard mom and dad say about money. And this is how his money map was formed. The mom turned around and said, we do not talk about money. That is for adults. So that was his impression of money. It's an example. Okay. Most money, we don't talk about money. Karina shares this often with her people. When we grew up, her dad had all this little desk in the house. Karina, our district in South Miami, had this little desk and we paid all the bills. And one time when she was younger, elementary, middle school, she walked in and Dad said, "No, this is not for you. This is not for you. This is for the adults." So bills were this kind of secretive, like you shouldn't talk about thing in her household. Other households, money was, we spend money all the time. We'll deal with it later. Deal with the consequences later. What did you hear? What were some things that you heard? I heard things from my mom's, like, we're broke and we can't afford it, yet we were living in an $800,000 home and going to vacations 3 times a year. And I went to a private school that cost 18. But we're broke.
I always heard like, you can't have the big things like
Sure, yeah, we're just brainstorming right now. Okay, I'm just giving examples. Michael, I'll call in a second. What are some things you heard often? My mom said, "God, I hope I win the lottery." We don't need the lottery. But I heard that a lot. I don't know if that's like a foreigner thing, right? Come to the U.S. and win the lottery. I find that to be the case sometimes. What did you see with money? What were some, and you don't have to share this, but this is good to get down. What were some fights you heard about money in the household, or some commentary? I grew up in a household where my dad was a doctor, made a lot of money. My mom was a nurse, she made a lot of money. My mom controlled the finances. My dad didn't understand finances, so I heard a lot of fights. And it wasn't that we didn't have money, it's that my dad just didn't understand, felt out of the loop. I heard those, and I remember these conversations I heard. I heard you have to save for a rainy day, and then my mom buys this new purse. I saw that a lot, right? Or we're broke, we can't do this, but I was going to school, no problem. My parents took care of me. Okay. Cool. What did you see, feel, or hear about money? Okay. Then I want you to define yourself under 1 to 3 categories. We'll end this part. Ready? Are you in the family of we don't talk about money? It was just a topic we didn't talk about. They didn't bring it up. It was kind of a quiet topic. It was secretive. That's family number 1. Family number 2, we talk about money freely, openly, and with confidence. Okay, so don't talk about it. Then the opposite. We talk about it freely, openly, and with confidence. Or are you somewhere in the middle? Where there's like a little bit of hybrid of both. And if it's in the middle, how would you define it for you? How would you define how my family speaks about money even now for some of you, if it's in between? So it's either we're totally open, money's an open topic, and we can freely talk about it, and let me educate you, I'm confident. There's that we don't talk about money. Then in between. If it's in between, define it. Take another 30 seconds. Would anyone like to share? It can be what they saw, what they felt, what they heard.
I remember growing up, my parents had this very strict thing of like, if you didn't earn something, you didn't get it. So if we wanted, like, I would ask my parents to buy me something, they'd be like, well, that's money. Did you like earn the right for us to pay for this? The only exception to that was when my dad was deployed. He'd just, be on deployment by himself. So he would try to compensate by buying me and my sister things. But as soon as he got back, made sure we were right back to the you earned.
Okay, so that's great. So there's a sense of earning everything you swiped for, so to speak. Okay. Anyone else want to share?
They didn't really specify, like we never talked about my parents' paychecks or bills or anything like that, but we would still go on like a vacation once or twice a year. We'd always make trips on occasion. My parents always said to save, so it's definitely like in the middle. But they so there's just some things they said never worry about. Like I didn't know my parents' income until like high school when I almost graduated. Actually, I was doing my FAFSA form, so I learned stuff.
Yeah, I've never known my parents' income, but I know what they make. Like it was never discussed for us, so that's cool. We'll go this side, and then after Mila, and we'll go Adrian over here. I would like you to then. I'm going to go to the hubs over in Clearwater, San Juan, or the pilot. If anyone, we'll take 1 or 2 people that want to share.
So I actually, growing up, would see my mom working on her budgets. She would do like Excel sheets, and I would always like run up behind her. Oh my God. I would run up behind her.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I would run up behind her and be like, "Oh, Mom, what are you working on?" She's like, "Oh, I'm doing our budget because we travel a lot, so she would always plan out her trips way in advance and just make sure, it's like perfect.
Good. So you heard budget a
Yeah.
lot and working on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Okay.
For me, what it is that my mom.
Oh, go on. Just go.
My mom had to grow up really quick, so she always taught me to she always told me to be young, enjoy life. Don't worry about bills. Don't worry about money. I'll take care of it. But now it's gotten to the point where we're helping each other. So money's more of an open topic. So we kind of grew together.
Okay, so don't worry about it. I got it. Right. And there's some things that can come from that, good, bad, right? Okay, great. We'll go here and then we'll go to Clearwater.
My parents have always been like, that's just not how it's like. My parents always were like, we pay the money for you to go to private schools because we want you to have a private school education, but you're gonna be crowding on the civic and not the thing is they've always set up that we're not like every other person that can get whatever they want, but it's never been
Got it. Okay. So there's some interesting things there. We'll go to Clearwater with a few over there. I'll lower the hand. I'll unmute you guys over there. So, Mike, you got one or two people over there want to participate?
Yeah. For me, one thing I saw a lot was the double standard. Well, let's say I'm more now, where we don't, family claims we can't buy this or that, but we want to do Bahamas for 6 people. And then reversely of that, they don't want to talk about their expenses, but then they educate us on our finances, which obviously I appreciate that. But they're very open, wife and how much we making this, but and for them it's you should never ever know the parents make. I don't understand that, but that's just something I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's interesting. It's really interesting to see how people come from different backgrounds. About anyone, Pilot or San Juan? David, I'll unmute you. Go ahead. You're good. You're not good. You're good now. Go ahead.
So in my family, it was very, very common to save all the time. I mean, it was ingrained in my brain so much that I started saving when I was 10 years old. Just little coins here and there. And I'm not gonna lie, it paid off. But on the topic of money, we'd be open about it when asked for, but not so much when I was little. It's a lot more open now, since I'm older, but my dad doesn't share with me what he shares to my little sister, obviously for, reasons.
Okay.
But for us, money is more of a learning experience than it is anything else.
That's great. And there's no right or wrong, by the way. Does anyone here in front of me feel like you have a family where money is pretty open? And how about you're educated on money? Okay. And sometimes maybe you come from a financial background, that tends to be the case, or you're, sometimes parents that are really comfortable with money are really good at teaching it and sharing it. And sometimes when they're not, it either means sometimes the parents aren't. You'd be surprised. A lot of parents that I work with, their students are TLA members and work with Cutco, you're better with money than them. Not all the time, but that happens often. And it's almost parents, we don't talk about money because there's not much they can talk about. Or sometimes we don't talk about money because it's they were raised that was an adult type thing. So here's what we're going to do now. Next exercise, and what we're going to get, the last part are the systems I want to set up for you, which is pretty vanilla, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. So we just went through what you heard, what you felt, and what you saw with money so far, right? Now, what are some of your money beliefs now that have stayed with you from then? And what are some of your money beliefs now that are different compared to what you saw, felt, and heard growing up? What are some money beliefs that have stayed with you? Maybe it's that strong savings mentality. Definitely get this down. And then the opposite. What are some things that you have changed in your view of money? What are some ways or things that have changed in your view of money compared to what you saw, felt, and heard? What's the same, and what has changed? What has carried over? What has become dynamic versus static? I got you. What is different? What is the same? And then once you get to the last part, so what stuck with you? What is kind of changing your beliefs? In the ideal scenario, if you had full control, how do you want to be or view or understand money? But when it's all said and done, how would you, in an ideal world, the best version of yourself, in a situation where you feel empowered, how would you like to be viewing, seeing, learning, and or understanding money? However you want to interpret that. So far, so good. Any questions?
Sir, can you ask that last question?
No. Yes, of course. So in an ideal world, the best version of yourself, since you have control, we all have control of how we go from here. We might not have control before, but we have control from here on. How do you want to be viewing, seeing, understanding, feeling about money? I'll give you an example. When I grew up, I always felt hurt and felt stress about money. We didn't have enough. For me, when I move forward, I want to feel very confident, not stressed about money. I want to understand money. I want to be able to save at a high level, but enjoy, like, because it's no fun just to talk about what you're avoiding. It's always a lot more fun to talk about that and then where you're going to be, right? I don't want to be fat. I don't want to be out of shape. I don't want to get hurt. How about I'm going to be? I can't wait to be. I'm excited to become. That's the second part that you sometimes miss in these exercises. So I'll share a few thoughts. And this, some of this might sit with you, some of it might not. But I share that I came from upper level, upper middle income is what I was. I definitely don't think we were high income, but we were upper middle income. Okay, so we were, dad was a physician and mom was a nurse, but we all went to private school and we also lived in Maryland, and Maryland has one of the highest costs of living, state taxes, all that. Okay, so it's give and take. And I heard a lot of, God, when I win the lottery. My mom would say, when I win the lottery, I'm going to buy a church. I'm going to start a church. My mom would say, when I win the lottery. Yeah, we just went on the Carnival cruise. Like all inclusive, right? When I do this, yet our house is large and we go to private school. I heard a lot of save for a rainy day. I heard that all the time. Save for a rainy day. But then I'd hear my parents argue about my mom spending money, not saving. I see my dad like physically brought to tears because he was upset at my mom for not keeping him in the loop and his card declined. There's no reason for his card to decline other than he just wasn't in the loop and knew how the bills were being paid. It was just a miscommunication, but there's plenty of money. You guys see that? I heard from my dad, I grew up with nothing, so I'm okay with having nothing. My dad, all my South Florida Cuban rag to riches, you guys know what I'm talking about. Seriously, I'm serious. Like my dad was from the jungles of the Philippines, insert Cuban, and I swam over it's the same story. And I came from this, so I'm okay, and we can go right back to that. I have no problem, and, that whole thing. So one thing Adam shared, for many of you that want to be successful, there's going to come a point where, your relationship with money is going to be really important, because how this is can really cap and limit sometimes your desire for money, right? So if someone grows up in a family where you better spend your money because someone's going to take it, the IRS is going to take it, or the bills will take it, and you grow up with that, when you start to accumulate wealth, Adam talks about a client he had where she had this shopping addiction. Really when it all came down to it, and through therapy, is that she just grew up where when she grew up, her brothers always took her money from her. And she would do the errands, take the money, her brothers would take it. So she grew up, I better spend it because someone's going to take my money. That was her schema growing up, and that affected her. And she was a very successful business person. Think about that for a second. And Adam tells this awesome story of he always got hung up because he grew up in a nicer area of town. He grew up kind of like I did. Maybe we could relate. And he always viewed the people with money as scumbags. All the people with money were rude, and all the people with money were pompous, and all the people with money treated people disrespectfully. And he said it changed when he read this book. and it said, you can be altruistic, friendly, help the world, and really, really rich at the same time. And for him, it was a, yeah. And if you meet, if you get a chance to meet Adam, he's one of the kindest people. I mean, he donates and he's so helpful and he's really, really rich. And he's so I mean, I spent 2 nights at his house watching his family and how they raised. I mean, it's like awesome. So maybe that's something for you. So I guess we could do this for an hour. We did this for 2 hours. It's called the money map. Okay. So I think it's really important. I'm going to give you 3 points to end this exercise. Number 1, I think it's really important to get right with where you've come from, get right with where you're at, and get right with where you want to be. I'll say it again. Get right with where you come from money-wise. Get right with where you are right now. What are your strengths, weaknesses? What are your beliefs? And get right with where you want to be. What do you want to turn from not a strength into a strength? I remember as a district manager, and a lot of successful division managers and district managers have this story. And Jackson, I think you've heard me say this, where I remember as a new district manager, I'll never forget, I had my checking account and I'd never had this much money in my life on my own. Even though I came from a good family, I just never had my own account where there was like 2s and 3s in front of the 0 in front of the comma. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow, I have 20 grand. I have 30 grand. For me, though, at that time, 30 grand, I was a millionaire. When you're 23 years old and you have 40, 50 grand chill in the bank, like you're a millionaire. So like, I could buy a car in cash. Right? That's how I felt. That's the stupid things that I could just, a Cherokee, I could just pay it in cash. Like you wouldn't do that. But like those are the things that went through my mind. And I'll never forget, I had, I would learned about separating accounts, and I had in my personal account of like $10,000, $12,000. And I'll never forget, within like a month, I went to it and I remember it was like 0. And I'd blown through 10, 12 grand, like no problem. I remember thinking, holy caca poo poo mierda. Oh my, I need to, I had this meltdown of, and so why is this important? Mike said this at Next Level. This isn't about running a branch office. When you're good with the money now, when it's $3,500 in startup, you'll be good when it's $35,000 in your bank account. You'll be good when the net worth's $350,000. You'll be good when you're 3.5 million. It's the same skills, just with more zeros. You guys see that? Okay. Any thoughts from the districts? Don't have to be. No? Okay. So I'll say this the way I say it to our districts. In this team or in this family, in the Gamboa family, we talk about money openly. We talk about money with confidence. You're not ashamed to talk about money. We talk about money as a great learning experience. We talk about money with strategies and systems to save. We celebrate saving. We celebrate spending and investing in things that you save for and that you wanted to, while also maintaining a budget. We celebrate being able to invest in businesses. We celebrate putting away money, like Mason talked about, on your own, where, the average American isn't saving 10, 15 grand a year yet. Mason, how much annually so far? 20 so far. Not even finished college yet. I know working professionals that don't save 20, 30 grand a year, and they're fully functioning single family household. So just food for thought. Money is a great topic. Don't be afraid of money. And as we start this, I just want you to operate moving forward through your college career, knowing that money is a great question. It's like, have a money question. It's not shameful. You should know what the bills are being paid. I'm for the most part an open book. It's how you ask, right? And so I think that's important to remember. So top down, and our leaders are all like that. I have no problem sharing certain things within reason, right? So that's a preface. Number 2. So this is where you were. Recognize where you are and where you're going. 4th thing we write down is that systems take out the thinking. How many of you have heard this before? Money's very emotional, or there's emotion attached to money. Right? Like think of this. Who's ever been here before? There's a number for you, and it gets higher as you get older, ideally, and we're zeros ideally. But there's a number where in your bank account, if it falls below that number, you have an emotion that happens to your body physiologically, negative. And if it's over that, there's a calming. And if it's over another number, it's an exciting spike in adrenaline where you're like, woo! But nothing physically happened to you different other than what you just saw for the quick second when you open up that account. Yes, true? Isn't that effed up? Yep. That's really messed up. Okay? But at the same time, if you can understand how to control that, I think that's really important. You see that? So systems, and Mike and I love the term systems. Systems are things that eliminate thinking and emotion. Systems have nothing to do with, oh, well, how do I feel? I feel like buying it. System for me is, I want to get that. Okay. Does it work into my little mathematical system of buckets? And can I pull from here? I can? Cool. I'm going to get it. Heidi and I did that the other day with furniture. And we said, well, we don't really, okay, how about this? All right. We canceled one of the 2 North Dakota trips. We canceled another personal trip. And instead of doing the bougie spa day, we did the staycation at Sajami. Right? Instead of going to, you guys from Miami, instead of going to Faina on South Beach and spending, $300, $400 a night for the discounted room, we stayed at home free in Midtown and went to Massage Envy and got 2-hour massages. But we have the badass coffee table. Like the like the one that's double that anyone else would probably pay, but we paid it because we pulled somewhere else. It's really cool. So you pull it up and it can come up and it's like a work table. You put it back down. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Okay. So things like systems. So I want to talk to you about some really baseline systems. And ready? Next level. I want you to approach this as, okay, yeah, I've heard this, but have I done this? And if I'm a next level member, if I've heard this, hey, have I done this at a high level? Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about, really basic, is the $100 rule. Okay. $100 rule. So this is really a circle of influence system that I love in our division. And the higher you go, the more zeros you attach to it. So for me, $100 rule, if you're a first year or if you've never branched, the rule is a $100 rule. Okay. If you have run an office once or twice, like an Eric or a Kirsten, I would add another 0 and call it probably 100, or it could be up to maybe a 500 to 1,000 rule. If you're a district manager, it's roughly $1,000. So if for the most part, assuming Jackson isn't spending money on stupid things, right, just buying a new pair of Jordans every couple of weeks, I probably wouldn't ask him. I probably wouldn't care. But if he's going to spend over $1,000 on something, I'd probably say, hey, let's talk about it. Okay. So for me, in our like Heidi, I don't need her. She wants to spend $1,000 or $2,000. I don't need her to call me and say, is this okay? But she does anyway. Like that's just how she's wired. But see, for us, like I don't want to spend more than 10 G's on something unless we talk about it. Let's talk about it. Right. So this for the wedding, like I don't want to hear about like the decoration here. And that's like $50, but she's worth. I was like, I trust you. We're good. We have a money system plan. We have agreements on that. Go figure. We have agreements, right? So here's the $100 rule. Okay. The $100 rule, number one, I want you to write down, is not mandatory. Right? Discipline is not mandatory. Like when you sign up with a personal trainer, and let's say Kirsten Casey is my personal trainer, and she says, meet me at Orange Theory at 6 a.m. I don't have to go. Even though I paid her services, I don't have to show up. But that would be considered a waste of money. Okay. You don't have to do this, but I'll tell you, it's a great start. Because what I found in TLA and doing this for, gosh, almost 2 decades, is that most people don't have a financial sounding board. Some of you do. Some of you have great parents and you talk to your parents, but most people don't have we talk about money openly and I go to my parents about money systems. Or, ready? My parents talk openly about money, but they treat me like a kid. This is my favorite. Like I get my mom takes all my paycheck and ... But yeah, that's not empowering. And you're in college. Right? It's like, no, honey, let me swing the bat for you. You sit down. I'll swing the baseball bat for you in Little League. Wait, what? It's the same thing to me. To me, that's my opinion. Okay. Here in TLA, you're gonna manage the money. That's why we want to see it in the Cutco only an account, not the account that mom puts for you. Anyone can do that. I have money now that will probably pay for one of my kids' college educations that my mom took from me and put into an account back when I was a rep because I would have spent it. But I didn't learn a single thing about money that year. I spent a lot of money that year. Okay. So $100 rule is anytime you find yourself in a situation where you're going to spend $100 or more. You don't have to, but here's what you do. You WhatsApp me. You send me WhatsApp. Hey, Jeff, Julia, I got this cute little, what do you call it, wristlet?
Yeah. Little like.
Actually, I just got one for Heidi. Like
it's like
a purse. Okay. Yeah. This is cool, little cute. It's a Kate Spade wristlet. That's what I got her, and it's on sale. But it's $120. I'm thinking, and here's what I say. When you send it to me, I will never ever tell you yes or no, or that's stupid. I will never give you an emotional response. What I will tell you is I will put you through the questions I would put myself through. Right? So I'll ask yourself, and so how's your startup? And so you have a letter of intent. Okay, how do you feel about your startup? How's your money for your big 3 every week and your personal expenses? Are you feeling tight? And you might get to, Yeah, I feel good about that. Okay, cool. Thanks, Jeff. And you pull the trigger. Great. Versus, I want it, so I buy it. That's what we're trying to avoid. And how many of you have done that? Because, you know, I've never done that personally. Ever.
2 hands.
You know? That third suit in 6 months that I don't need. Oh, I've never done that. You know, it's like.
It was on sale.
That's right. It was on sale. Normally, it's blank. We justify. So here's what's great. But see, a lot of times, and I've done this so many, even with Luke back, Luke doesn't do this anymore. He does now, but with like 1,000 or more. Luke would say, hey, I'm thinking about this. We'll go back and forth. Hey, it's only $100. Then I ask questions. Say, yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out. I'm gonna hold off. Okay. So any questions, or how about comments from people who have done this with me, and just feedback on how helpful it's been? And some of you haven't done it with me, and I think you should have been doing it with me for a while. We'll go Jackson in the back.
I think for me, and I mean, it's kind of obvious, it just gives you more self-awareness when you get like a second opinion especially from someone who is very good with their money. I know from personal experience with Jeff, a year ago, this fall, or last fall, I had to buy like 3 different cars, and like going through that process with Jeff, making the right decision, and finding a car that actually works without breaking the bank and still having money saved over and left over. Was really good, just being able to like go back and forth with him on WhatsApp like every single day about it.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll take you down roads that you're not prepared to, like the stickler, right? I said, well, how about, even though it feels like, man, I should just get that car, Jeff. And I'll ask you 2 or 3 questions. Like, yeah, I think about that. Well, let me go back to this car. That's one version of it. Eric, you had your hand up.
Yeah. I just remember us having a conversation about I was getting ready to buy Becky a birthday gift.
White Adidas.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah. So,
Superstars, not the Stan Smiths.
Yeah, the Stan Smiths, the Pharrell Gia ones are like 130. She had like fallen in love with him. He like walked me through the process of what I thought, and it just gave me a better understanding of where I could spend that money, rather than just getting her something that she'll wear a couple of times. We could have done something that involved more quality time, or could have made a lasting memory rather than just a pair of shoes. He never said yes or no. It wasn't like, dude, what are you doing? Are you dumb? Like, you won't feel like that. It's just he genuinely cares about where you're going to spend your money, and he wants to teach you the value of where you can spend it.
I'm not here to make the decisions for you. I'm here to show you how someone who has a lot of money thinks, and what questions I would ask myself before Heidi and I pulled the trigger on blank. Right? I'll give you another example for our we're doing a quick honeymoon. I don't know, like 5 days, 4 nights, and the whole goal the whole time was to go into the Bora Bora and those stilts on the water, right? And that was great, but we just crushed our house. Our house is awesome. So we pulled off on that, but we're going to Turks and Caicos, which is still pretty bougie, right? But we don't have to go across the continent, across the Pacific Ocean. The flight is super cheap because we're coming out of Miami. So it's like little things like that. And, you know, one of the things that you've heard this often is that a lot of people, got a lot of money because they were thinking a certain way, not because they just kept spending money. Part of it. Mason, you had a quick comment?
We did the same thing on the pair of Gucci flip-flops. Basically, just
yeah, I remember
basically, we just talked about it, and then I realized that it was the dumbest thing ever.
I don't think it's the dumbest thing ever.
It's not dumb. Like, it's just like just Gucci flip-flops.
You don't need a pair.
I don't need a pair. Gucci flip-flops. But he didn't say I didn't need a pair. He was like, I don't remember exactly.
You should have said that.
Just walked me. You just were like walking me through like.
Mike Abramus right now is going crazy listening to you. Gucci flip flops, nice.
It was SC2 week.
I was like, I gotta buy something.
Okay, so everyone understand $100 roll? Can I get some juice, please? Okay, $100 roll. So far, so good. So and we'll review the assignments at the end. One of the assignments from this next level. Side note: the assignment from Next Level Group for Money is that I want you guys to read the next book for the next session, which is Money Honey. Okay, and I'll send all the information on Monday. I'll send all the information. Okay. So $100 roll. Here's the assignment. From here on out, you now have open invitation to start doing $100 roll with me. And I highly encourage it. I don't mind if I get 70 messages in a week, 80, 100 messages. I won't get to them right away when you send it, but I think it's great. I'd love to be a sounding board. I wish I could do it more often. In fact, I mean, Heidi and I kind of do this with different numbers, but we do it all the time. And funny, she kind of does it back to me. It's really weird. So we had a comment here.
Hey, Jeff, what was the name of the book Next Level's doing again?
Money Honey.
It's Rachel. It's Rachel's book.
Okay, Money Honey?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, Eric.
I think a great example is the Josie and the John Elway story, where she really just wanted to buy a John Elway jersey. She texted me like, "That's a good investment." She had everything checked out. You're like, "Send it." She got her John Elway jersey for her tailgate season.
Yeah, I mean, people think when they text me, they're always texting me, and I'm going to get to a no. That's not the case at all. I think this was from Next Level. You may have missed this, but Mike and I, Mike was talking about you should also do things where you reward yourself, right? So, for example, give an example. Heidi and I just put a pretty good amount of money away. So Adam said, "Yeah, go for that new room, that new furnished room for blank, whatever you're going to spend on." Because I think you should enjoy yourself, or go to the high rise in Midtown versus the cheaper version what you were thinking about. I think that's okay, but then make sure every other bucket is filled. Okay, $100 rule, good.
Yep.
Second system. Okay, I want you to open up the spreadsheet in your notes, and it looks like this. If I'll share screen. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'll do this. Exactly.
Sneaker wear.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay. So here's what I'd like you guys to start looking at. And Mila's mom, in that example, was talking about spreadsheet. One of the key numbers, and we're going to start small. I'm going to teach you big three, which is a weekly budgeting. One of the key numbers that will help you attain wealth is knowing your monthly expenses. Okay, so let's say you're a family, forget Cutco, let's say you're a doctor, a lawyer, or a nurse. Knowing what you spend on a monthly basis that's set and what is flexible, like what could go up and down, is going to be one of the first things in expense control because you know exactly what you're spending. It's pretty straightforward here, right? It says gas, food, clothes, rent, which is rent, power would be like FPL. Insurance, car, cell phone, fun and miscellaneous, and then other things like let's say you have credit card bills, which we'll talk about later, but you shouldn't have. You do it in our system, you have zero credit card balance. You pay off your credit cards in full, or you don't use your credit card. We'll talk about that. Side note: anyone here have credit cards where you carry a balance? Yeah, but you carry a balance, meaning like you don't pay it off every month. There's still left over. Okay, yeah, that's a like. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay. That's robbery. Do you want to talk about the, okay. That's next prep. So if you take a look at the spreadsheet, you've got gas, food, clothes, rent, power. What it does, it automatically, sorts it and you just put it in. You can add different categories. So one of the assignments we'll have between now and next prep is I'd like you to create your monthly spreadsheet. And I'm okay if you don't necessarily fill in the numbers for the month, you can, but I at least want you to get your categories. Like for example, if you have a set bill for your car payment, your set bill for your cell phone, then put the monthly bill that you know it is every month. But if there's a bill in there like fun and miscellaneous, you've never really tracked it and it could be up, it could be down, you can put a question mark, but the key is to get everything you spend money on. So what's a good way to create the spreadsheet? Every time you swipe or every time you spend money, put it down into your notes in your phone, and at the end of the week, add anything new that you spent money on into a category. You might have to create 3 or 4 more categories this month that you didn't realize you had. Okay, and next level group, Mike and I were talking about rising stock and the P&L. I mean, I have a P&L with this many categories for personal and this many categories for business because it's like an advanced version of this. Delia, quick question.
Oh, I was just gonna say Mint. I don't know if you were going to talk about that, but it's a great app for categorizing. Like you just hook up your credit cards and anytime you swipe, it'll put in a category for you and then you can look at it at the end of the month.
And you can change it too. You can put them in different categories. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's cool.
But I want you to get used to putting a spreadsheet. Ready? I don't know a single successful business person that doesn't understand Excel spreadsheets. Not one. No, or has someone that explains that to them. But they usually have a lot of money to do that. Okay? So I want you to be able to use these budget sheets because I want to be able to say, hey, Kirsten, so what are your personal expenses for the month? And you should know within $100 of, I'm at $1,800. For most of you, it's close to nothing up to like maybe $2,500. Anything over than that, over $2,500 is pretty high for a college student per month. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, so watch. We're doing this in September, into October, November, December, January, February, March, April, before summer starts. So we're giving you essentially 3/4 of a year to get used to tracking monthly expenses. So by the time you get to the summer, it's not a big deal. Here's what happens. When you are able to do this while other people are scrambling to figure out their finances, or even worse, they sweep it under the rug and they just focus on running their office. What they don't realize is that you might be shipping a lot of knives and getting recruits and money's coming in, but because of your expenses, you're not seeing any of it. If someone makes 100 grand, but they spend 80, and someone makes 70 grand, but spends 30, the 100 grand might get the trophy, but the 70 grand's richer because of what they take home. It's not earning potential, it's saving potential. And the number one thing you can do is just be aware. So the $100 rule is the first system, so that you have a sounding board. Number two, spreadsheets, so you're aware. The ideal high point scenario right now is that within 3 months, you're pretty accurate. It takes about 2 or 3 months. You pretty much know by the time you get to the end of the year, this is what I spend a month. Any questions on that? Good. Okay. Exciting. 3, I want to talk to you about money buckets. Side note, if you also feel like you're an advanced reader or you want to get ahead of the curve, you want to start delving into next level stuff, you can read the same books. When I announce on TLA what books the next level group are reading, the next book is Financially Focused. It's actually from a Vector Train TLA Movement Cutco alumnus, formerly from, I believe, the TKO division. And Mike, I think you said it so eloquently that it's a book on strategies, but with a millennial twist, if you will, or catered towards speaking to millennials, and I'm paraphrasing. Okay, quick question.
For the Excel sheet, is monthly what we project, actual is the actual? Which one should we do first? Like, should we do the actual first to get a feel for it? And are you about to go?
No, I'm just laughing.
Oh, sorry. I know.
It's good. No, it's good. To clarify, right? I would start everything with monthly. See, in an ideal world, the monthly column is your goal.
Okay.
And actual is actual. So I would start everything with actual.
Okay.
Cool. Good question. Okay. Buckets. Let me try and get visual here. All right. I get buckets. So this square represents your income generator. So as it pertains to our company, what's your income generator?
CPO.
CPO, or renting a branch, running a district, selling Cutco knives. Okay, so this represents Cutco. And I would probably sketch this for yourself. This might be very helpful for you. So you have income coming in. And I'm going to do this I'm not going to do this from a standpoint of being a branch manager, because then you pay yourself, and I'm just saying in general. So income comes in. Okay. There are different buckets, and you can read 10 different books that will tell you 10 different systems. For me, I just want to keep it super simple. Okay. Personal bills. Right, personal bills. You like that? It's a bucket. Or pail, okay. So goes through personal bills. Okay. And yep. Taxes. Savings. Okay. And then from there, you have your extra buckets. So this could be fun. This could be that trip. For me, one of this is my wedding and our new place. This could be a vacation, something, a new house. So what I found, and I learned this a long time ago from my division, from my region manager, Mardave. Pretty straightforward example. Every time you get a paycheck, you should consider 1/3 for your personal bills. 1/3 of that doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the U.S. government. And then 1/3 here. But this is like for dummies, this version, right? So if I get $1,000 paycheck, $333 is what's going to pay for bills. I'm going to save $333, and I'm going to save $333 in savings. And I would probably set up 3 different accounts. Follow me so far? Thumbs up if you're following me. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. So I'm just going to use an example. I earn $900. But in theory, each bucket should have 300. Let's say I make 90 grand a year. Add zeros. Follow me so far?
Yep.
Okay. So 2 things. First of all, we'll talk this and then this. So you've got your personal bills, taxes, and savings. With savings, I would also take a percentage of the savings and start to fill the buckets of something you determine before the year starts. So for example, this is an impulse. This would be, let's say I'm buying a new car. So before the year starts, I'm going to say, all right, part of my savings is that car. So I have savings, I have investments, I'll call it emergency. Who's ever heard you want to save for a rainy day or have an emergency account? Okay. So my savings bucket, that 30 grand, is going to go 10, 10, and 10. You guys see that? So, and I operated like this for years. Paycheck for me, I break it into 3. That savings goes into 3 more. Paycheck, break it into 3. That savings goes into 3 more. Something I save for intentionally, not by impulse. There and there. So what do I do? The personal fund. That's part of your personal bills. Because you should have, ready? Your rent, FPL, okay, food, okay, fun food, and then I'll have like miscellaneous. And I'll give myself a budget for the month and for the year on if I want to go and buy that shirt, if it's still in my miscellaneous budget, that's where I put that. This is something bigger that I'm saving for. Okay, so I'll stop there. I want to make that kind of super clear and super simple. Any questions so far? Pretty straightforward. Okay, and the second part is the taxes. So here's what's really cool. As independent contractors, when you run your own business, we don't pay taxes the same way. Taxes aren't taken out. So there's strategies to pay taxes at the end of the tax year, okay, April 15th. So what's really cool is if you follow the system, you're just saving 1/3 of everything anyway. But if you've done taxes before, what do you know about the amount you save versus the amount you actually have to pay? What usually happens? Yeah. So the tax bill a lot of times is less than what you save for. So I'm going to give an example. Let's say your taxes due are $20,000. Okay. You have 30 in that bucket at the end of the year. What's left over?
10,000.
Yeah. I usually put that right into the fund. To me, that's going to go into savings, but it's going to go towards here. So ready? Heidi and I, we don't make any big purchases until after taxes are paid. Whatever's left over, we kind of go ham on it. We just go for it. Okay. So I'm going to stop there, and maybe Emil will take a picture in just a second. Any questions on this? Because I don't want to get, there's rule of 72, and there's, we could talk about a bunch of different things, and I think are more advanced, and I think are important. But at the end of the day, it's understanding that when you get a paycheck, I think who said this? This was Jackson. I've never made this much money, so I can just start spending. Well, if you get a paycheck and you remember 1/3 of it's already accounted for, 1/3 of it's already accounted for, and 1/3 of it's already accounted for, you don't spend as much. Questions or comments? How about this? We'll do light bulbs on this one, and we're going to do 2 more systems, and we'll wrap up. Dalila.
So actually, it's funny that you bring up Money Honey. I just recently read that, and there's so many different systems. That's a great system. She also has really good systems. Like if you're not NLG, I would still read it. But she talks about how you can take like your savings and put it in I think she was saying like a high interest paying account.
That's that.
Yeah. So
I retried to go.
Yeah, and then you can even have longer term savings that you invest, and then you can like pull that.
Yeah, all the stuff she's talking about is here. And you can go with Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Great
So,
buffer
yeah.
system.
So all the stuff, and like when last year when Luke's dad came and spoke to us, that's all here. Tax shelters, that's all here. Just trying to make it suit. You could take a whole course in a semester on this, on this bucket, on this part of the bucket. What I'm just trying to show you is every time you get a paycheck, you don't see it as your paycheck, the whole thing. You get into that, that's already going to start the process. Yes, ma'am.
I think when I first saw this last year, it kind of went over my head, and I wish I would have done it at a higher, like implemented it at a higher level than I had. So just
Yeah. So guess what? Now's a good time to start, right?
yeah, 100%.
There you go. You know, when there are people who never start this, or the people who don't learn this until 30 or 40 or my age, right? I no names, but just I've met adults through hiding through myself. Come to find out, like you guys know, our branches, our districts are way more financially savvy than these really high income working professionals who probably could have more money in the bank at the end of the day, but don't because of just little things they don't know. So, Eric.
I mean, what Mila says resonates with me. Just because I remember sitting in this room and I wasn't engaged as much as I wish I was. Because I'm looking at my profit loss statement from this summer, and then I'm checking my bank account. I'm like, oh, crap, yeah, where did that go? Instead of knowing exactly where my money went, being organized with it, and being able to implement a system.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about tens, hundreds. I'm talking thousands of dollars, and I'm really just like, where the hell did that go?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny when you look at your profit loss and you go, well, where's that money? Yeah, it's all here. Because this wasn't in control, it just kind of all went to this. Because I know for a fact it didn't go to this.
Yeah. And what I would say the first years is you might not have those thousands in your bank account right now. You might, so you do for someone your age is very atypical. But when you do go and run an office to get the opportunity, and you do a good job, you will have thousands in your bank account. And if you don't have the right systems in place, you'll make the same mistakes I did, and you'll lose a lot of money.
Yeah. Another part, and to your point, Eric, another part too is a reward system. I think will help you stay focused on that. Like so, ready, and this is maybe another time, but there are really cool reward systems where you say, hey, when I save $1,000, I'm going to spend 100 on myself. I'm going to buy that G-Shock watch I wanted to buy when I save my first $1,000, and go up. When I save 10,000, like add zeros. When I save my first 1,000, here's the reward within reason. When I save a 10,000, here's the reward within reason. Then when I save 50,000, here's my reward within reason. And I think that can be super exciting. I just had a call with my mentor, and he said the first million is the hardest. We were talking about our finances. He said, yeah, that. Do you agree the first million is the hardest? Like, yeah. And then we talked about different strategies and what we learned. And once you get to the first mil, it shoots. Take out million. That for you, if the first 10,000 is the hardest. Seriously, just take out a couple of zeros. Once you get to that first 10 grand and you get this taste of saving 10 grand and you have 10 grand that you don't need to spend, it's really interesting how you now never want to go below that number. Then the number becomes 50 grand. The number becomes higher and higher. And there's just that, oh, hell no number of I won't go below that number. No matter how much I want that pair of shoes, or that purse, or there's that number. Any questions? How about feedback from virtual? Questions, comments? We have a hand, lower hand. No, we're good. All right. Eric, one more.
One more comment. Most of your friends aren't going to have anywhere near as much money in your bank account as you do. Like my friends ask me how much I have. I don't ever really tell them the real number, but they're like, you have this, why don't you just go and buy it? Like you can afford it. So they might not necessarily be in that circle of influence when it comes to making financial decisions. So,
amen.
When you're talking to your friends and they're like, oh, bro, you got a couple grand in your bank account, bro, just go buy that. Hey, you can afford it, but do you really need it? And that's why implementing the $100 rule is actually really important.
And it's really funny. When you get this locked up, let's say, I don't know, let's just say, look at my bank account, and right now, like one of my personal checking accounts has $26,000 in it, right? You go, damn, get those Jordans, right? But if you have this buttoned up, I can, maybe not in my head, I can just say, actually, no, because my fund budget for extra shopping, I already blew left yesterday on that new suit. I have 26 or whatever amount in that account. Sure, I have the money technically, but for me, all that money's accounted for. Whether it's my bills, taxes, savings, honeymoon, and our second, we're doing 2 honeymoons, so like that's the next one. right? We're going to the Philippines. Okay. And then, so for me, no, I don't need that new pair of shoes. I don't need that new tie. I don't need that new blank because everything's already in. For us, it's been wedding, second honeymoon, and furniture recently. And then if I go over on one, I got to take a little bit more away from the fun. So no Michael's Genuine and no more eating sushi at Zuma this week or this month. Because that's way more expensive than just sushi across the street in Midtown.
Is you guys a specific example that will resonate with most of you? When you guys go out, you guys find out how much money you have. They're gonna be like, oh, you should just buy water for everyone. Don't do it. So it's just making smart financial decisions about certain things that your friends aren't going to understand because they're not in the same place financially.
Yeah.
You need to understand that.
Any questions? Okay. Do we have anything virtually?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, right here.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay. So I understand everything, but like, how would you personally suggest that we like set clear boundaries for personal bills, taxes, and savings and all that?
Clarify your question, please.
Like, obviously, we could like divide however much is like in our checking account by 3 and just be like, oh yeah, I'll spend this much and this much on personal bills, save this much for taxes and everything. But like, how would you like just make sure that you don't go over anything or you don't like dip into anything? Like, other than
Yeah,
just, like,
I might not be understanding your question, but for me, it is as easy as you divide by 3. I might not be understanding the question, Rachel, but for me, it's as easy as, yes, you divide everything by 3, and that 1/3 that went into the first bucket, that's what you use to pay your bills. Or maybe you have to save for a little bit so you have enough money to pay your monthly bills. But the first part of this, you have to know what? You have to know your monthly bills. So I think the first strategy is you need to know your monthly expenses first, so you know you kind of fill the buckets in order. So Rachel, maybe this is a better way to answer it. Bucket 1 is your personal bills. Hey, Jackson, you're making enough money. I approve. Buy markers. I got you. You're making money, man.
There's some
Right?
better ones though.
So for, let's say, and Rachel's asking, she's like, how do I start from scratch? Do I divide everything by 3 right now? What I would do is, first of all, I would figure out what are my bills a month, and I would do that for 1 or 2 months. Once I know that number, let's say it's $1,500, then I would fill that tank. I would make sure I always have $1,500 there. And then I would start doing the other 2/3 moving forward. Does that help, Rachel? Does that clarify your question?
yeah, that helps.
Okay. So know what your bills are first, then fill it, and then you can start filling the other buckets. And we could spend a whole TLA on the taxes. We could still spend a whole TLA on the investments and the savings. Okay. Now, big 3. Now, I don't have the spreadsheet, but some of you did it, some of you didn't. I think this is an important exercise. And this is the collegiate version that you can replicate right now, and it'll help you become good with money. Even for those of you that have mom and dad's credit card, they pay for everything. I think there's nothing wrong with that, but I think this is an exercise that can still help you. So big 3. What were the big 3 I asked for? Gas, food, fun. So here's a really awesome system that I'm going to want you to try and start implementing, and I want to have a discussion on this, okay? So the first system is a $100 rule. Second is I want you to start tracking and put together monthly expenses. Here's the final one. Okay, big 3. I learned this from actually the late Marty Dimitrovich, who's a former region manager. He passed, and he's one of my initial money mentors. And I remember going through and saying, man, I'm shipping all this CPO. I have all these trophies. I have this nice Rolex watch, but I don't have the same amount of money that spreadsheet says at the end of the year. And that spreadsheet says blank, and I don't have that much money. Like I have money, I have good money, but it's not that number. And so we started tracking. He says, how about this? Go cash. Like, huh? He said, go cash. So he said, what do you spend? What are the things you spend most on? Food, gas, and fun. So those are the big 3. That's how it originated. And he said, okay, so take out how much money you spend a week on gas, food, and your budget for fun, and take that amount of money out each week in cash. No debit card. No credit card. No credit card for sure. When I'm done with you next session, no credit card for sure, unless you're paying off in full. Ready? Gas, food, and fun. So let's say each week I spend on gas. What's a conservative amount on gas?
Like 6 a month.
A week?
Where are you driving?
Like 40 a
Driving
week.
2 miles.
I'll say 40 a week. You have an SUV.
He's a pledge. Just
Yeah.
drive more.
Yeah. So 40 a week. So food. Watch this. Food.
$1 million.
So we'll call it set food. So I don't know. Maybe you do groceries for the week. Let's call it 100. Let's call it 200. $150 in groceries.
No.
100.
300.
Okay, this is where you could have another long conversation. Everyone got their comments out.
What'd you just say?
Let's just call it 100 week in groceries. You could go higher for sure, no doubt. No doubt. You can go lower. And then fun. Ready? So let's just keep it real and say you're going out on the weekends only, and you're actually buckling down and studying during the week. Okay. What's an average night out? Not I just had a big summer, I'm spending money, and now I'm dead broke and I can't go out. What are you spending in a night?
$40.
20 to 50 is a lot.
Like,
50's
I
a
said
lot.
like
50's a lot.
I said you're not, Jeff, you're not going crazy. It's like 15, 20.
Okay, so watch.
You're not going crazy. But
So let's just say you budget yourself for the week. Okay, you ready? I'll wait.
Guys, come on.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm going to do 100 because that's going to include the times you decide to eat out after the groceries are bought. That's kind of all. This is food, miscellaneous fun. So this includes going out each night for $20 a night over the weekend. Let's say you go out 3 nights a week. That's $60 plus $40 left over for when you do want to go to Chipotle or to Bento Box or to Zoe's Kitchen down the street. Okay. So let's say we'll just round that number up to 250. So what the cash rule says, the big 3 cash rule, is you pull out $250 in cash and you don't bring your debit card anywhere. And here's the cool thing. You don't have to do any of this, but this is such a great exercise. It kind of puts in your face how good or bad you are with this stuff. So anytime you're spending money on gas, food, or fun, you pay cash. Okay? And here's the cool thing. If I want to, and I want to impress everyone, I want to buy a round for everyone, and I want to just go big, let's say I spend $100 on Saturday night in Tallahassee. Damn, you blew it out. Okay? And ready? So let's say I go crazy and I spend all $250 because I want to buy that new watch or that new outfit. That means for the rest of the week, you have no more money for gas or for food. Now, you could easily go, oh, I can just pull it out. Then that's one of those, all right, you just found out that you're not good with money. And could you pull it out? You probably will. But it's the discipline. It's the discipline of, okay, well, let's say I decide to eat out a little bit more. Let's say I spend $150. I'll just use the example. Let's say I spend $150 on food and fun. What's left over? That means I only have $100 left for gas and food, but my gas stays the same, still $40. That means instead of spending $100 on groceries, I got to go to Target, or I have to go to Walgreens and get those groceries now. Not Trader Joe's anymore. Okay, you guys see the difference? And that's what cash is great. And here's the cool thing: the best part is when you have excess at the end of the week. Best part is, okay, I only paid cash for gas, food, and fun. Let's say I have $20 left over. Okay. For me, I like to save that. And I keep saving that and saving that. At the end of the month, reward yourself and get something with what you saved the 4 weeks. It's kind of a cool reward system. Or invest that money, or put that money into your startup, or put that money into the investment bucket. Stop there. I'm trying to get as dumb simple as I can. All right. Questions first on big 3. Okay. So here's what I'd like you to start doing. I'd like everyone to attempt. And here's the cool. I know you guys can dip into your account if you go over and pull the money. And I know some of you, mom and dad, might give you a credit card. My mom gave me a credit card for gas. I never had to pay for gas in college. All the fun was on my own. But I'm going to ask that you try, and especially if you're in that situation, try the cash thing. It works. It really works. I remember I did that. And within a month, I could already see the difference in how I spent money and how I looked at it. I got more buttoned up with my grocery bill. I knew when I was eating out, when I wasn't. And by the way, I still had a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Questions or comments? So I did little things like, I remember before that, if I didn't eat all my food, it's like, no, I'm done. You can take it. Versus, can I have a box? And I would use the leftovers, and that would be part of my meal the next day because I wanted to stay within budget, so I had more fun with the rest of the money. Like little things like that. Like I watch Adam. Adam's a multi-millionaire, and we went to Chicago, and he was getting leftovers for these little pieces of food, and we talked about it, and we have the same philosophy of it's a waste, and I could use that for something else later. Any questions? So here are the hard assignments. The hard assignments are the hard assignment is the spreadsheet. The soft assignments, but I want to get feedback from as many of you as possible, is the big 3 cash rule and the $100 rule. Reach out. Stop there. Questions or comments? Okay. At the next section, we're going to follow up with this, and then we're going to talk about different strategies on how to save money, like choices to make, like little things, like how do you keep the air on or off, and how do you turn the air on and off in your office or in your house to save some money. Things of like grocery strategies, like little things that will help you. That'll be the next prep. I'd like you to take 30 seconds, write down your biggest takeaways from this money section. Okay. I'm in virtual land, either San Juan, Fort Lauderdale, or Clearwater. Any want to share a couple? Any big light bulbs from you guys? I'd love to hear. We'll go Nicole.
Hi. One big takeaway for me was just doing that. I say the best version of yourself money-wise. Once you have that goal set mind of where you want to be mentally with money, that's what you really want to strive for. And anything veering from that, you need to always focus on, hey, I'm going to commit to this because, for one, even going into the systems, it removes all of your emotions. And it helps you stay focused, honestly.
Okay, good. And also Fort Lauderdale, any light bulbs? We'll do one more.
Muted.
One more. Do one more light bulb over in the pilot. Yeah, Aiden.
Setting limits. For instance, before, if I know I'm spending like $60 a week on gas, I might think, hey, I want to go on this extra trip. I'll spend an extra $20 on gas for that week. But the idea of setting a limit and knowing that I can't do that.
Or you can, and you just eat $20 less in food.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Or $20 less in fun. We'll go over here, Adrian.
Well, just taking out the money for the week, so leaving your debit card at home.
I'm telling you, it is game changing, and it's also stupid simple to do the cash big 3. It's so easy, and you will discover a lot. I think what I want you to debrief is, okay, how many times did you have to go to your account to get more money? Pull out the debit card. How many times were you over? What did you start realizing you spend way too much on? Like it's fast. That's why I like the cash roll, because it's tangible. You see it go away. Sometimes when we swipe and it's just numbers and it's just on you don't really pay attention to it, but cash disappeared. It's like physically it runs out. So good. How about over here? Other takeaways, Bob?
Putting away the leftover tax money into fund money. Just transferring it over.
Yeah.
Really good.
I love it. And how about the buckets, right? And we're sitting well. Trent?
That systems take the emotion out of money so you can make sure that your spending fits into it.
Yeah. We don't make impulse buys in our household, because even though we say it's impulse, it comes out somewhere else. Right? Any impulse buy gets made right in another bucket, if you will. How about Clearwater? Do we have any takeaways over in C-Dub or San Juan? Patricia.
Yes, I wanted to say my biggest takeaway is know your monthly expenses, because I track my weekly expenses, but I never really seen it at a macro level. So I feel like using the spreadsheet is gonna make me see it in a macro level.
Yeah, and I want to point out over in San Juan, David, David, you're there, right?
You're muted.
I want to point out David Vargas over there. David, are you free over there? Is David? Okay. So David, check out his background is really financially related. David, what was your major in college? Listen to how much finances come into this. What was your major in college?
Animal science.
Animal science.
What is it? Animal science finance.
Yeah. Not animal finance, animal science. So really zero money knowledge. Okay. David is one of the best. David, are you comfortable with us sharing some of your savings the last 2 summers? Yeah. How much money have you saved in 2 summers open?
Right now, like 50 grand for this summer, but that's after like spending most of it to reopen.
Yeah. So let's call it 30 grand to reopen because of the hurricane. And you had to spend about 20, 30 grand. He's got 50 grand saved after 1 summer with Cutco. And San Juan wasn't breaking records. They weren't the top offices in the country every year. But I don't care because this guy's got 50 grand in the bank. He's getting his brand new BMW in a couple of weeks. And financially, he's super fit financially and getting fit physically too, right? But think about that. I think it's really cool. Okay. So I think that's really important. David, can you speak to any of these strategies that you learned when you first started with TLA that are still with you today that help you save the money you're saving? This is great.
For sure. $100 rule. I still use it. I mean, before buying this new laptop, I remember I texted you, and I knew I wouldn't pull the plug until you did it, until you said it was okay, and I was, you know, financially fit and financially safe in all the other buckets I needed to fill. That's definitely one of the biggest things right now for me and from my TLA. The other thing is always making sure, you know, 1/3 your paycheck's not really your paycheck until you divide it and all your bills are paid. And, you know, just being really responsible with your budget, just following your budget, just being strict to your budget. And it's not that you can't have fun as long as you plan it out. Like even any purchase, like I know I bought like like a nice backpack for myself and everything, but you know, I saved for that backpack before I got it for like a couple of weeks because that's what I budgeted for.
Yeah, his TLA habits have carried over into his adulthood. And here's what's really interesting. He will ask me questions where in my mind, and I'm going to say this to you, David, with love, sometimes I go, what the hell are you talking about? You can afford that. But I love that he still doesn't understand if he can afford it because he's so systematic with these buckets. Like that laptop, he didn't need to call me. Your BMW, you don't need to call me. But he does. And he's got this, it's just wired in his head that I need to check off the check marks before I say yes to that check mark. I think that's a really big deal. And this is coming from someone who had no financial background. This is Cutco through college, yielding 50 grand saved. You'll be 6 figures saved, my friend, before you reach your first 3 years on the job. It's pretty cool. I know a lot of families don't have 6 figures saved, period. But he's going to get that in the first 3 years open out of college. Pretty cool. Nice job. Okay. Any other takeaways? No, I think we need to stretch. I see a lot of droopy faces. Okay. We're going to take 5. We're going to take 5. It's 7:36. Let's take 5. Come back strong. We'll finish with journaling, and then we'll wrap up the prep. Sound good? All right. Thanks, guys.